Hi, welcome to Two Chicks in the Kitchen. I'm Lori.
And I'm Jackie.
Today on Two Chicks in the Kitchen, we're going to be making a fun treat for Easter. We're going to be making a chick cake. It should look like this when we're done, and Jackie and I are going to show you how to make this. For our chick cake today, we're going to be using a box cake mix. This is just Pillsbury Funfetti, because that's what my kids like. We're going to preheat the oven to 350 and just follow the instructions on the box. We need 1 cup of water. We need a 1/3 cup of oil, and then we're going to be putting in 3 eggs. I'm going to add my eggs, and then we're just going to mix this up a little bit first, get it nice and blended, and then we're going to use our electric mixer and beat it for 2 minutes on medium. Okay, that's about 2 minutes, so our cake batter is ready.
Okay, so I'm going to show you how we prep our pans on Two Chicks in the Kitchen. First, we are going to take the bottom of the pan and you are going to put it on either wax paper or parchment paper. So this one has a bottom that pops out. We're going to place that on the paper, take a permanent marker or another pen that you find can write on it, and we're going to trace the outside of the circle. If you have any other shapes that don't have pop-out bottoms, you can just place the pan on the paper as well. We'll take that off, and then next we're just going to cut out the wax paper, but you want to cut slightly to the inside of the marks. And what this is going to do is this is going to provide you with a nice crumb-free base when you pop your cake out and flip it over. We will leave the paper on there while your cake cools slightly. You don't want to take it off right away because you don't want it to pull the cake up with it. Now today for our chick cake, we're not just using a pan. We are also going to be using a bowl to bake in. This will be a stainless steel bowl like this to make the round shape for the top of the chick. So what we did there is we did the same thing. We traced the bottom of the bowl on a small piece of paper, cut it out. It will be going in the bottom after we grease our pan. Just a little trick for greasing your pan. If you don't want to do it with your hand, which is totally fine, we're going to take a paper towel and you're going to wrap it around your hand like a mitt. You're going to fold it over like this into a big triangle, and then you're going to shove it in between your fingers and just grasp it. That way you have this much on this side. We're going to take our shortening, get a little bit of shortening on that paper towel, and we are going to rub down the whole inside of the bowl and our other pan. Just nice and light, getting a nice coating on there so the cake will not stick. Okay, so we greased our stainless steel bowl that we will be putting in the oven. Make sure there's no rubber on the bottom of your stainless steel bowl, otherwise you'll have a kitchen fire. Next, we're going to grease our circular pan. So same idea, all the way around. You can also use cooking spray. This is just our method of choice. So you're going to take a little bit of flour and sift it into your pan. You're just going to tap a little bit, just enough. You don't need a full coating of it, just enough to sprinkle on the insides. And then you can move your pan around and tap it a little bit so it gets on the sides. We're going to do the same thing to our bowl. And take it. Perfect. And we're just going to hold this up and tap out any extra you have. If it doesn't come out, it needs to be there. Next, we're taking those wax or parchment paper circles that you cut, and you're putting it in the bottom.
Jackie, the bowls are all prepped for the batter?
Yes, they're prepped and ready to go, and what we want to do is we want to start by pouring the batter into the center of your pan so that it weighs down the paper that you have in there so it doesn't float away.
Okay, so we have about a little over 3 cups of batter here, so we're going to do about 1.5 cups in each pan. So these are ready for the oven now. They need to bake for about 1/2 hour. On the center rack here, we just put them side by side. Set our timer for 30 minutes. Okay, so our timer went off. We're gonna check our cakes and see how they're doing. See if they are ready. So I've got my toothpick here. We're just gonna poke it and see if it comes out clean. Looks clean to me. So our round cake is done, and I can tell by looking at our bowl cake here that the center is not quite done. Let's see how gooey that is. So we're gonna put this back in and set the timer for another 5 minutes, and we'll check on it and see how it's doing. Okay, we have our round cake and our dome-shaped cake cooked now. They've cooled and they are ready to be frosted. So we are going to first pull out this round one. We're going to go ahead and leave the metal bottom on it for now. We just need to cut it level so that we can put the cakes together. Find a low part of the cake and start, and just go straight across, making it nice and flat all the way across. Like that, and set it aside. We just took a butter knife and kind of went along the edges to loosen it, and it just popped right out. And here's our parchment paper. So we'll go ahead and peel that off. So there we've got a nice flat surface there. You see how this domed out at the top of this, and we want this part to be flat. And we're gonna just slice it right off there and make this nice and level. Now we're gonna turn this over so we can size this properly.
It's okay if it's not perfect because you can always fill in with frosting.
Frosting is wonderful for hiding mistakes. You can cover up anything with enough frosting. Now we have a nice cone-shaped head for our chick. So now we are ready to start layering our frosting so that we can put all these pieces together. You can make your frosting from scratch, or I just am using Pillsbury ready-made frosting. It's just classic white. I like to use white because it's easy to color. I have gel food coloring. I like to use the gel rather than the drops because you can get a richer color without using quite as much, and it doesn't water down your frosting. So we're just gonna add a little bit in here until we get the color consistency we want.
That looks like a nice shade of yellow. Now the next step that we want to do is, since we have 2 cans of frosting, we want to separate the frosting into 2 batches. The reason we want to do this is the first batch we are going to use to dirty ice your cake, or it's often called a crumb layer. You want to do that before you put on the second batch of yellow because you don't want crumbs in your outer batch. It will keep your cake sealed, nice, and shaped how we want to shape the chick out without getting crumbs on the outside. Okay, so we've divided our yellow frosting and set aside the majority. So about 3/4 of it we set aside, 1/4 of it we have here. We are going to start by just putting a small dollop of icing, frosting, whichever you call it, in between each cake layer. It helps it set up and hold together a little bit better. So I'm just gonna put this here, spread it around a little bit. It just acts as glue. Okay, and Lori's gonna put our cake there, our next layer. Do the same thing. There you go. I'm just gonna place the top. Okay. Now here comes our crumb layer. As you can tell, some of our layers are off. That's okay. What we're going to start with is we are going to start by filling those cracks. A cake spatula will also work for this, but we're just using a small plastic spatula because it works just as well if you don't have that tool. Okay, and you're going to drag your icing over the surface. We just need a nice light icing. Now we are discarding or washing what you just used for dirty icing because you don't want to stick this spatula back in your clean icing. It will contaminate it with crumbs, which will make the cake stick.
Okay, so now we're ready for our next layer of icing. So I'm just using a regular plastic spatula here, a rubber spatula. Just take kind of fairly big globs of icing because you don't want to push hard on the cake because that'll just pull crumbs off. And we're just going to go around it and make a nice pretty layer. It's not going to look quite beautiful yet. We'll smooth it out a little bit more with a hot butter knife after we get it all covered. Okay, we're going to transfer the cake now that we are ready to smooth out our icing and make it look pretty. We want it on our final plate. So we're just going to carefully shift it. So we're using our hot knife to just smooth out our surface here. We just want to make it look as nice as we can. So we just kind of go over it, dip it in the hot water, and it just gives it a nice. All right, we are ready to do our decorating. Our cake is transferred over. We've smoothed out our icing. It's not perfectly smooth, but that's okay because we're going to decorate it. So we've got our Wilton frosting decorating bags. So we're going to cut a little slit in the tip here. We went ahead and colored some icing. So we've got orange for the beak and the feet. We've got green for the grass that's going to go around. We've got white for the eyes, and our leftover yellow is gonna make some feathers. Let's put our tip in first. Which color are we doing first, Jackie?
We are going to fill it with our yellow. You slide your capillary down, and we're going to place our tip on, and then screw that in there.
So we're gonna put this right into the cup and then fold this around the outside so we have a nice, neat little spot to put our icing in. That way nobody has to hold the bag. So we're gonna scoop some of our leftover yellow in there.
And go to our next one.
Okay, first we're gonna use the white frosting and we're gonna make the eyes. And the eyes are just gonna be circles. So we're gonna put them right in the middle there. The other eye is gonna go about like that. Okay.
So we're just doing a few tufts of feathers. So we're going to squeeze, lift, stop, and pull. Squeeze, lift while we're squeezing, stop, and pull.
You can make as many as you want. Okay, we're gonna do our feathers on the side now. We'll take this yellow and just kind of go right along here. And we're just gonna kind of make them in a wave so they look feather-like. You can do a couple different layers so that it looks like he's got a bunch of feathers. We'll do the other side.
Okay, we're going to attempt to make the eyelids.
Okay, now we're gonna put the black part of the eyes. So this is just black decorating icing, and I just put a tip on there. So we're gonna just squeeze that on there and make a circle. And then make the other. Now we're gonna make its eyebrows. So I'm gonna just wipe off this tip and make sure I get a nice, clean start. Now we're ready for his beak. We've just got some orange frosting here, and we're just gonna draw the beak on here. It's gonna be an upside down triangle. And then we'll just fill it in. So now his face is coming along pretty cute, and we're gonna add some little feet. So his feet are gonna be sticking up from the bottom. So we're just gonna take our icing here and make it come into a little point. And now we've got his little feet sticking up. The last thing we're gonna add is we're gonna put some grass right around the edges. And that completes our chick cake. I think he turned out pretty cute.